All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Is someone give me a shout out in the comments? That will be great, just to make sure that you can hear me. Tonight, we have episode 2 of Comic Book Team Up with me and John from John's Longbox. We have Michael Bancroft on as well. He's just finishing up one of his streams, and he's going to hop right on over here with all of his I don't know, all of his chat as well, hopefully. Anyways, he's going to push them right over to here. So I am going to put John on just for a second, and I'm going to say hi to the people in the chat. Just give me 1 second. I'm very slow at this. John is here. Yes, good. Vaz is here. How you doing? Stress level is here. Nick is in the chat. Great. I want to show some of Nick's art later tonight if I get the chance. Michael is here. Bethel is here. Comics Mate is here. All right. We got nice regulars in the chat while we wait for Bancroft to get over here. So, John, you did interview Michael before, did you not?
Yes, yeah, he was great. I love talking to him.
The reason why I call him a crowdfunding master is because Michael is where many of the, I would say, second level of crowdfunders after, Ethan Van Sciver and your boy Zach. When I started to get into it, and a lot of other people, Michael Bancroft and a couple of people came up with a do's and don'ts of crowdfunding and shared that with everybody as much as possible, because they were of the opinion that a rising tide rises all boats, and they wanted everybody to do well.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we did. And so that's why, I think a lot of people owe a lot of what they've done in their crowdfunding to Michael, and his list of things of do's and don'ts and all the pitfalls and all the great things that come with crowdfunding. And he's actually translated that into a great success with his books, Lucid and Painted Death. So we'll talk to Michael about those as soon as he gets here. Did you order the Lucid, John?
Yes, yeah, I backed it. Is that the word? Backed it. I backed it.
Because I do have the Lucid around here somewhere, but I don't think Painted Death is out yet.
No.
Although I did get my copy of Cardoth in the mail today. I didn't get to even open it yet.
Oh, Andy Smith's comic?
Yes.
Yeah, don't give away the ending. He was very adamant that I not give away the ending.
All right, we got a couple of new people here in the chat, new to me anyways. Sometimes I miss people here. Gray Wolf is here. Mighty Geek Studios. Yeah, Yang Yan Zo.
Yeah, I was on Yang's channel a couple weeks ago. Great guy.
He has the channel I'm not even aware of. Okay, yeah, let's see.
I feel bad that I don't know everybody's comics. I don't know everybody's channel, but it's no ill will. Everybody is I'm still finding out everybody.
All right, Michael is here. I'll just have to add him to the stage, and we'll start talking with our crowdfunding guru. How you doing, Michael?
That's me, the crowdfunding master and indie guru.
Yes, indeed. I was just telling everybody here that with that great resource you shared a long time ago to me and everybody else, it was a leg up that most of us needed in order to actually get our campaigns working and going. The first campaign I ever did, I ran it by Michael, and he said, change this, that, and the other thing. And he was just dead on about, the visuals and everything else. So before I go any farther with that, Michael, I just want to let everyone here know about your books. If you could give a description of the Lucid and Painted Death.
Yep. So the Lucid is a mystery thriller. I think that you could classify it like that. Not in American kind of superhero style. It is much more inspired by European books. If you're familiar with French bande dessinée, mystery story about people who have access to very strange powers through their dreams. And I'm reticent to say much more than that, because the whole thing is based on how does this whole thing work. And I can't give away any spoilers, but if that intrigues you.
Yeah, it looks very Lovecraftian, and I'm a Lovecraft freak. So just that image right there to the right of your face is awesome. The way it's crafted.
Well, if the most interesting thing about it to me is that it's set in our world, but everything that is cool about it is hidden from our sight. We didn't know about all this stuff that's happening, but it's been going on for thousands of years in secret.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it delves back into the ancient past all the way up to the modern day.
I've always had a couple of questions for you, Michael, about your book. Number one,
Mhm.
you're a big Spider-Man fan. So I'm wondering, first of all, why did you go with a more mythological style story than a true superhero story? And secondly, why did you decide to go with dreaming? Because I remember when I was doing my manuscript and I was for my novel, and I was going through a lot of the do's and don'ts, and people said, do not write a dream story. People will just flee away from a dream story because they won't understand it. But you seem to have translated that into success. So why did you do that?
Well, I was into Spider-Man when I was very young. So I got into comic books at the age of 11 because I knew of Spider-Man. My friends were collecting, they were reading Iron Man, G.I. Joe, X-Men, and I thought, oh, these look great. So I went down to the store. What am I going to get? Well, I know Spider-Man because of the cartoons, and it's Spider-Man. Everyone knows Spider-Man. And it looked really cool. So I grabbed that one, loved it, hooked straight away. But I really I collected Spider-Man voraciously throughout my teens, throughout my teens. But after that, I mean, I didn't really read much Spider-Man after that. And I think I kind of just drifted away from superhero comics in general. And when I would come back, I would be more interested in reading things like Sandman or stuff like that. A bit more, what would you call, the more adulty sort of stuff. And that was what I was more interested in reading. Uh, and I never even planned on writing a comic. I was just writing a story. I didn't know what it was going to be. Was it going to be a novel? Was it going to be a screenplay? I didn't think I can't make a comic because I don't know. I would have to draw it, and that seemed like a lot of work. But eventually, I realized this really only works as a comic. So that's what I did. Why dreams? Because I spent 10, 15 years of my life just completely obsessed with these lucid dreams that I was having and these crazy kind of weird, strange, trippy adventures I was having in them. And I thought this needs to be a story in some way, but it took me a long time to figure out how to turn it into a story.
And I think everybody's fascinated with their dreams. How many people in this chat, how many people, comic book creators, woke up in the morning like, that's a comic book plot, and then wrote it down, and then worked on it. I think we all did. Anybody who's considers.
Yeah, I did that. I did that for a long time, but then you realize that so much of what you dream about is just nonsensical and doesn't really fit any kind of narrative. So you've got to just kind of be inspired by feelings and events rather than actual.
Doom is not a good comic book.
Yeah. Well, actually, people don't like the idea. Oh, it was all a dream. That's terrible, obviously. So.
Yes. The funny thing is that I know exactly what you're talking about. However, most of my dreams, when I dream like that, are very almost scripted. They follow a plot, and it's like I'm watching a movie. So actually, the novel I just talked about, the manuscript that I wrote, was literally just the first part of a dream that I had, and I wrote an entire novel based on that one part of the dream. There's like a trilogy of these that I have. The other two I haven't written yet completely, but yeah, I know the exact thing. I used to do that too. I used to write down my dreams because I thought, oh, that would make a great comic.
Yeah, I've had a dream like that before. I've even had credits roll up in my head after a dream. It was quite funny.
Do you ever go back to bed?
They're more rare.
Do you ever go back to bed like a night later and try to recapture the old dream, see how it
Yeah,
ends?
and I used to be able to do it. I used to be able to do it all the time. That was the whole thing of it. I used to keep a really bad sleeping schedule due to university and playing poker. And it allowed me to have these crazy dreams, and I would come back to them. And what was cool about them is I was learning to do things in the dream, and I was getting better at it over the months. And then a month later I was so much better at doing this one thing, whatever it was, just like learning superpowers. And I thought, this is so cool. How can I make this into a story?
So Michael, how do you fly in your dreams? This was actually a Thanksgiving Day conversation years ago at my house. When you fly,
very much like Neo. So very fast and just kind of like hands back, face first.
RJ, how do you fly in your dreams?
I never actually get to fly. I can jump really far, kind of like the Hulk, but I never fly. It just never works for me.
Because my brother jumps and kicks his feet, and as long as his feet are kicking, he's hovering.
That's how you start a lot of the times. You it's like you're swimming almost.
In the air,
and then that's what I noticed after focus and practice, and it's all about being lucid, knowing you're dreaming. And you know, in that line in the Matrix that says you think that's air you're breathing, realizing that you're in a lot more control than you think you are, then you can get better at these things. And that's what I experienced, and that's what I sort of
it's funny that you said that, because you know, a lifetime of reading comic books, I've had plenty of superhero dreams, but you know, there's two powers in my dream. Like, I could fly, I could stretch, you know, I could even shoot laser beams in my dreams, but two things that I actively tried to do in my dreams and I can't is walk through walls and teleport. So I remember a few times in the dreams, like I guess like I tried to, you know, I went through a period where I was trying to lucid dreaming and I never successfully did it. But I remember going, I'm going to teleport. And every time I would try to change, I would wake up. So, you know, and if I tried to walk through walls, I couldn't do it. And another thing I could never do in my dreams is play a musical instrument. I've had dreams that I'd be on stage and I go to play and everybody boos and I wake up.
See, I'm a fantastic pianist in my dreams. Amazing at the guitar. So many skills. I have walked through walls. No, I used to play a little bit of piano, but no, not really. And lots of things. And you know what? One thing that I remember so vividly is I dreamt that I had drawn this incredible piece of artwork worthy of Todd McFarlane in his prime. And I woke up and I remember just studying it. I'm like, I have to look at this. I can't believe that I've created this inside my head. That means I can actually make this in real life. And I was looking at it, and then I wake up and I try and recreate it, and it was just a mess. But I was amazed that, wow, in my head, I have the ability to create these images, but how do you get it out of your head once you're awake? It's, you know.
Yeah, I've dreamt songs and like, this is a great song. I can't wait to wake up and write this down and become a million. And then I go to the bathroom and then I can't remember the song, you know.
It's always the way.
Did you actively try, like, read those books about lucid dreaming?
Oh yeah, I was into it before the internet was a really big thing.
Yeah,
where people would come on. So now there's YouTube channels that have millions of followers that are all about lucid dreaming. That wasn't really around. So I've got these books here about techniques and what to do and what people have found really hard to do and what people have found really easy. And yeah, I was really into it. And then I started drawing the comic based on all this stuff. And to do that, I had to start getting up early, and that threw the whole thing off. And now I don't really lucid dream as much anymore.
Funny story. My first apartment, I lived with a bunch of friends, and it was Long Beach, Long Island, New York, and it was a Hasidic Jewish community. And you know, I didn't have the beard then, so. But a rabbi knocked on the door, and I opened the door, and he was selling the Kabbalah. I don't know if you're familiar with this book. It's a book of Jewish mysticism, and one of the things it promises is the ability for lucid dreaming, and it promises the ability you can release your astral spirit and time travel. So I was like, "Come on in." I was making breakfast. I invited the rabbi in. We sat down. I paid him $10 cash for his book, and I said to him, "Well, I know this book doesn't work." And he goes, "Well, how do you know that?" I said, "Because if I could time travel, the first thing I would do is come back to this moment to tell myself to read this book, that it works. Don't put it away." And I have not yet materialized, so I know that this book doesn't work.
And beat him with logic.
Yeah, the rabbis never came back to my house.
I wanted to ask, Michael, just to jump off of your dreams just for a minute. I want to ask you about your book and about how setting up your own website did instead of actually going through a crowdfunder. What did that do for you? Did you find that a difficult experience? Did you get obviously someone to do it for you? It looks like. And what was your margins of profit any better than the normal crowdfunders? Can you share that information?
I can share all of it. I'm perfectly happy to be transparent about all of that. So it all started when I met Aerith Saga, Brian. He's a indie comic creator who We don't really know all of his business and everything, but that's what he does. He sells products through Shopify. He has warehouses and stuff like that. So he sort of got into crowdfunding, and he noticed this is all a bit archaic, and it's all kind of based off what Kickstarter started doing 15, 20 years ago. So he was like, let's just set up our own Shopify. So I was intrigued by the idea, but I didn't really put too much stock into it until things started to get weird on Indiegogo. And I realized, we're really, at the behest of these bigger crowdfunds or however they want to run their businesses. So I thought it's probably just a good idea anyway to set up your own site. So that's what I started doing. Yes, I did it all myself. I even documented it on some videos. I used Shopify. It's very straightforward. It's designed so that, even though I have designed websites myself in the past, it's designed so that the layman can go in and do this sort of stuff. I do have an edge in that I'm a graphic designer, so that I can come up with all the little bits and pieces, the banners and such. And so I just started building it. It's not difficult, but it is a lot of work. It's a long time. It means many, many hours setting many, many small things up that you can't know about until you're in there having to do it. But I'm very happy that I did do it. I think it's gone exceedingly well. I'm in a bit of a unique situation where I have a pretty active YouTube and Twitter account so that I can drive traffic towards it. And people were actually waiting for it based off how Waking Dream went. Not everyone is in that position, and people who've set up their own websites and tried crowdfunding through them haven't found similar success because they don't have the ability to drive traffic to it. The argument kind of against that, though, is, look, I don't think Indiegogo is driving much traffic to anyone these days if you're going just through Indiegogo.
Right.
Fund My Comic a little bit, but not huge numbers. Kickstarter probably is the most popular one out there on the scene. But again, mileage may vary, because I think what a lot of people are looking for on Kickstarter might not necessarily be what you're doing. I think we all know the kinds of books that tend to sell well on that site these days.
Now, let me ask you, did you right away? You never even tried Indiegogo, or you went to Indiegogo and you didn't like it?
No, I did Indiegogo first. That was my first campaign. I think I raised how much did I think it was about 50,000 Australian,
Nice.
whatever that was at the time. So I did incredibly well, 1,000 backers and everything. But that was really in the heyday of Indiegogo being this fantastic hub.
Because I'm afraid of going to
books and
Indiegogo
comic
and then
state
somebody
books.
I don't even know can't even get in contact with, shadow bans me or whatever,
Oh yeah. There's so many problems going on with them at the moment. It really is a shame from where they were and where they are now. I'm still going to use them for people who want to use Indiegogo, but that's going to be later. At the moment, my main hub is going to be my own site.
Do you find that
eventually
there's people that are fans of their own sites, like there's
Yes.
Fund My Comic fans and there's only Indiegogo fans?
Yes,
I don't understand that,
absolutely.
but what can I do?
Yeah, customer choice. I've always said customer choice. You want to make the choice. I put up this first. This is where it's going to be until the book is pretty much done. When it's ready to go to print, I'm going to throw it up onto Fund My Comic, Indiegogo, and Kickstarter, and just see what I can get. Even if it's a couple of $1,00000.
I'm
whatever.
of the opinion if I like the work, I'm going to go to the site no matter what. But I like Fund My Comic just because I know Luke. I got his phone number. If I have a problem, I can talk to the man. I can't talk to the man over at a Kickstarter.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So there's that, and people might be hesitant backing on a personal website, and that's their decision. So I think it's just smart to just kind of throw it out there around to these different sites. Now, if I were an American, I would be being charged the equivalent of about 2.5% fees compared to Indiegogo, which I think is 5%. I think Kickstarter is a 7% fee. I don't quite know the exact numbers, but Shopify charges a 2.5% fee. Unfortunately for me, being an Australian, taking money from all over the world, there's a exchange rate fee. And 90% of my customers are US
So
based. So
if
they're
I back
paying me
on,
in US dollars. I get an extra 2.5% fee on top of the 2.5% fee I'm already paying. So I end up paying 5% anyway. So that's
Michael,
that.
if I back on your website, this is coming from you personally, like you ship them out and everything.
I think his wife does
When
it.
it's done, yes.
Okay, so if I
Yeah,
open,
yeah, that's true. My wife will do it. Yes.
all right, so when I open it up, it's not going to be like filled with koalas and giant terrible spiders that you have over there in Australia.
Someone said they found a dead spider in one of them, but look, I don't know.
Well, if I get
Maybe
a dead spider, I want a live terrifying spider.
that you won't be getting that. I can assure you of that.
You got some beautiful
Yeah, the
art
is
here for the art contest, Michael. I think Elliot
Yeah.
is down here in the corner. He did the back cover for my first book, which was Thomas Valiant, and a few others that I don't even recognize, but beautiful art contest. Was that going on during the original campaign? Is that done now?
That's all done. That all happened. So that's the kind of order there that they're listed in terms of kind of who won. I gave away 3 prizes, first, second, and third. But then I ended up just buying outright a bunch of these from the artist directly, so I can use them at a later date for trading cards or whatever.
What is the first? For people that are new, what would be the first book to get for the Lucid?
Well, there's only been 1 book out thus far, so I'm releasing them in longer graphic novel format. The first book is 60 pages. That's called Waking Dream. That's available right now on the site. You can go and grab it, and we'll ship it out to you straight away if that's all you want. If you want Painted Death, you're still going to have to wait a little while. I am finishing up the last couple of pages of line art, and then I've got about halfway through the colors that I have to finish. I'm looking to get the overwhelming majority of them done in January 2024. And but if you do back, I'll keep everyone updated on exactly where the progress of the book is. But then that'll be 2 books, and then after that I have a one-shot coming out called The Lucent Fractured Mind. I'm working with an outside artist on that, Rod Looper. But Waking Dream is the initial kind of buy-in. That's where the story starts. It's one of those. This is very much a story where it's a story. It's an ongoing story about this event.
I have to ask this question. I have to ask this question because you were talking about your dreams and how this book led from your dreams. Michael, do you dream in some kind of green hue? I have to
yeah.
If you look at
Michael
loves green. Michael loves the color green.
Lucent blue. Yeah. I don't think so, but I guess that's just the color of the series. It's just what it is, and I know it fits.
You do
it's
dream
very
in color, right? You heard about people who dream in black or white.
No, absolutely. When I'm lucid dreaming and I'm fully aware of my surroundings, I am amazed at how it is indistinguishable from real life. And it's crazy. The detail that your brain can manifest inside your head, it's mind-blowing.
I remember one of these books that was saying, like, what you do is you take like a focus, and in the dream you try to remind yourself, and they said like your hand, try to look at, because if you ever notice in your dreams you never really see your hands. So I always tried to like make it so that I could see my hands to remind myself, okay, I'm in control of the dream. And sometimes it would work, but I mean, I got to the point where if I was having unpleasant dreams, I could change it to a pleasant dream.
Yeah,
like that. But I was
that's how I got started in it. I was trying to escape nightmares as a child.
Yeah,
and that's how I became aware of when you're dreaming. So there's all kinds of different techniques. It got to the point where for me is if I'm asleep and dreaming, I know I'm dreaming. It really got that intense for me. It was kind of an all the time thing. But if you're not used to lucid dreaming, just jump onto YouTube, see a beginner's guide. There are 100 different techniques as to how to induce a lucid dream. They're not all going to work for you. Just keep trying them until you find one that is.
Interesting. Because I've met a lot of people who tried it. I've never actually met anybody who said they were successful. So I kind of gave up on it. my dream, I stopped having nightmares decades ago. So my dreams are actually pretty pleasant. So there's really no reason to mess with them.
You can even induce lucid dreaming from a waking state. That's I was into that as well, which is sort of like a kind of meditation. I mean, it really is a kind of it's like inducing a hallucination in the meditation, which is, it's crazy stuff. And that really, when I was getting into that and succeeding in that, that's when I thought, okay, this has to be a story, because this is too crazy. This is too insane that we are able to do this as humans, but no one really does it. We're completely capable of doing it. They've been talking about this in religious texts going back thousands of years, and they would sometimes take certain drugs or whatever, or herbs, I don't know, to induce this, to help it along. But I mean, presumably anyone can do this. We are capable as human beings of doing this. And I thought, wow, here's this, it feels like a superpower, and somehow I'm doing it just because I took the time to sit down and learn how to do it. But
back you up a little bit. I know,
like,
if I'm doing a repetitive, dull task that doesn't require a lot of like mental power, like raking my leaves, I will go into a daydream that is so harsh that my wife will literally have to like come and shake me, and I'm like, oh, and then I look and there's bags of leaves raked up, and you know what I mean. Like I don't remember, because I was having,
when you're driving and you don't remember the last 20 minutes.
There's a word for that. There's a hypnosis on the road. When I was a school teacher, I used to drive across the country during the summer when I was off, and I used to joke that there were states that I don't even remember because I just drove through. But when I was raking, I was daydreaming about a story plot that was giving me troubles, and I worked it all out to the point where my wife tapped me on the shoulder. I was like angry. You pulled me out of this state. And I had a thought, like, do you like cell phones? Now, every time I have like a moment, I take up my cell phone and I'm looking at somebody who says something that I disagree with on Twitter and fighting with them, rather than daydreaming like I used to do. And I wonder how many less stories and how much less art, how much less songs.
I think about that all the time.
Because people aren't daydreaming anymore. Because Michael,
that's what I tell my kids. They say, I'm bored, and I say, good.
Yeah,
use your imagination.
RJ could back me up. You know, he's a Roman Catholic. I would go to church, and I'd go into church. The priest would start talking, and now I'm just like, I'm Superman flying over buildings. I'm Spider-Man. Next thing you know, mass is over. You know.
Yeah, I used to do the same thing when I was driving to work. It'd be an hour there and an hour back. I literally would work on my story during, like, I turn the radio off and I would just drive, and I would not remember the drive because I would be working on my story in my head the entire time. And that's all I would do. And it's like, oh, half an hour, an hour's gone already. Darn. Well, but there was a really good question here before we go any further. Michael Vaz has asked the question, what artist influenced your art style?
The biggest, my wife hates it when I answer this question because I can't pronounce his name. He's a French artist called Mathieu Lafray, and he's a bande dessinée artist, concept artist, and he was the one who I didn't knew comics. I knew American comics, you know, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, X-Men, that sort of stuff. So I never really thought. I had read Sandman and other things like V for Vendetta or Watchmen and stuff, but I didn't see my story like that. But I found this French graphic novel in the supermarket in France, of all places. It was next to the shampoo, and I was just blown away. I was like, what? This is comics too? And I saw my story in front of me on the it should be around here somewhere. I usually got it within arm's reach, but I can't
so
see
I take it you're a fan of Mobius and
yeah. Well, I got into that afterwards, after I realized that there was this whole world here of this stuff, but I saw it and I was just blown away. And you know, if you look at our styles now, they're quite different, but I think you could probably see to sort of, you know, I've tried to do similar things to him, these big, vast, expansive background images and stuff like that. But my style is mostly just influenced by whatever I can pull off, really. Can I do that? Have a go at it? Does it look good enough to put in the book? I never really considered myself an artist. I never came into this wanting to be an artist. I came into it wanting to tell a story. The story needs art. Okay, therefore I've got to make the art. That's sort of how I approach it.
All right. I just want to say, give a shout out to Taz here for his super chat of £5. Thank you very much, Taz. Taz is a regular here. But on that note, Mike, I was wondering about your art style. Do you use it seems like to me, you would use normal proportions, because I know there's superhero proportions that's just a bit elongated from the normal proportions that you would use for a normal person. And then there's the old style, very, very old. I think the fellow who created the superhero elongation was an artist for Tarzan long ago. So do you use the Sandman style, the Hellraiser style, which is the exact proportions for human beings in your art?
Yes, 100%. And that purely comes around by the first panel I ever did is in page 1 of my book. I was like, I'm going to learn on the job. And that means a ton of reference. Like how does it look when someone does this? How does the shirt fold if someone's in a position like this? So I'm like trying to find, all right, or I'm taking photos of myself, so it very much, like I understood my limitations as an artist going into this. So I was like,
I took pictures
if I need to, I need to be able to go and find something that I can kind of look at to know roughly how something looks. So, and I thought it kind of fits. I didn't think a superhero proportion style was really appropriate for this story. I was very much trying to ground it in our world so that the fantastical elements would feel that much more fantastical.
Just to let everybody know, the link for Michael's website, which I just showed off a few minutes ago, is in the description, as well as I do believe I put something else in there as well, but I can't remember what it was. But there are links there for Michael's stuff in the description of this video.
Lucid.com.
Yes, lucid.com.
Delusioncomic.com.
The Lucid. I'm there right now.
I wasn't able to snag the Lucent. That would have been nice, but
and which you can order the book straight, or the first book straight from this site, and the second one, which
and you can back the crowdfund Painted Death. Yeah,
right.
All in all, you're looking at 160 pages thus far if you get the 2 books together. Because the first book is 60 pages, and this book now is 100 pages, which I will never do again. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. This last one that I did, which is the Valiant Heroes, I separated up into 3 artists, and that was still a hard thing to do, but at the very least I got 3 artists working at the same time, which was a lot easier to try to get through your art.
Yeah, if I had the opportunity to do things over, yes, I would do them slightly differently. But when I started this, I knew no one. No one knew me. I had no followers on Twitter. I had no YouTube. I had no history. I had no experience. I learned on the job, and I thought, well, where do people put their comics if no one knows them? And I looked, and they were like, hey, it's all Webtoon. All right. So I went into Webtoon. So I started releasing this as a kind of weekly or bi-weekly or monthly episodes on Webtoon. So I didn't even have it formatted as a comic when I started doing it. And so I didn't really write. I definitely did not write for the floppy, which, in hindsight, well, yeah, I probably would have done that slightly differently, but it is what it is now. And this is where we are.
One of the things that I do, I noticed that a lot of other people don't do it, but I separate my book into chapters so that if it can be printed as a floppy later on, there's about 22 to 26 pages for each chapter. So I can break them up into floppies if necessary, but I don't see a lot of people doing that. I wonder why. Just they're thinking about the long story, but I find that a lot of people need a short burst of story instead of the entire long thing. Do you find that a lot of people are drawn to a much longer story than I guess older comic fans, which is a lot of people we're pulling in?
Well, my comic is going to be 22, 24 pages, one and done, each story self-contained. because I don't have the I'm preparing for, I only make one issue. And then if I make that in success, I can make a second issue. So I don't want to leave anybody hanging. So I don't have any multi-story arcs, but it's all like Marvel Comics. It all builds on each other. One issue tells a story, complete story, because I'm trying to recapture old Marvel, the spark that I loved as a kid.
Yeah, that's definitely a criticism I've received, in that I'm not doing it like that. And I've seen people have great success doing it like that. We know that, The Walking Dead, the format that he used, to great success. Tell the one story in one book, but there's always a kind of like a 3-book and then a 6-book arc, and then there's obviously the ongoing story. That's really a clever way of doing it in the American market. Again, when I started, I wasn't even thinking about printed comics. So I wasn't thinking about what people might be used to in the American scene. I was just telling my story. And for me, it's always this, I'm going to keep doing this until I drop, until I die. It's part of my life now. This is what I do. I get up in the morning and I work on my book, and then I go to work, and then after work, I work on my book again. Job. I do have a day job. Yeah.
I was just talking to David Brink of Genuine Comics, and I don't know if you've seen his comic Perfect 10. It is phenomenal. Oh, yeah. And this guy has a day job. And I said, how can a guy who has a day job put out a comic book so good when professionals who are doing comics 24 hours a day can't hold a candle to, look at this, look what I'm looking at. And this is guys with a day job. How could professional Marvel and DC guys be so bad at it when that's their only job?
Well, I don't think the Marvel and DC guys are given the time frames that I allowed myself on a page like that. I mean, that's a bit of a a one-off. Even I don't give myself every page something at that level. That's kind of like I like to put in 4 or 5 really intense pages to kind of show off a little bit, to sell the book as well. But sometimes it's just there's a scene, or there's an event, or there's a place, there's a location that needs an introduction, and that's one of them in there, in my book. But Dave Brink is great. I've had him on my show a bunch of times, and he's a really, really cool guy, and he's doing amazing things with Perfect 10.
Yes, absolutely. I gotta ask, just because I'm curious, how is the comic scene in Australia? Like, I'm kind of
fascinated. I wouldn't have the faintest clue.
Oh, really?
I wouldn't have an idea. There's 25 million of us here, which is
pretty
not that
decent.
Many. In a country the size of the United States, continental United States, we have about 6 or 7 cities. The city I'm in is quite large. It's 4 or 5 million. But I think because everything's so scattered, the local comic book shop scene has always been healthy, always was, at least in the major cities, Melbourne and Sydney, maybe Brisbane. But the actual indie scene and creator scene, I have no idea. I'm told there is one. I've never been to a convention here. I've been told through the grapevine that I'm banned from the conventions here. But who cares? What am I? I'll know I can't go to some place and sell.
Yeah, from the Nazi punchers. Yeah.
I sell 5 copies of a book at $5. I'll know. I guess I'll just continue selling online for thousands of dollars.
That was one of the questions I wanted to ask you about. You went to the Comic-Con in Miami, was it not? This past summer.
Tampa.
Oh, okay. So what was that like? Did you have any luck there? Did you meet anybody? Did you do any, I don't know, reaching out?
I didn't go over there to make a lot of money. I knew that wasn't going to happen because I couldn't physically take over the amount of product I would need that would make back what I'd spent on my ticket. But I went there because it had been 5 years. Well, it had been, sort of 5 years since I was hanging around in Comicsgate on Twitter and in the chats and everything. And it had been 3 years since I'd been doing a show. So I thought, now or never, let's go over there. I ran a Kickstarter that made $4,000 or something. I put that towards a ticket and I went over there, and I had such a ball. It was fantastic. I got to meet so many fans, got to meet friends that I'd made for the first time face to face.
That's cool.
It was just 3 days of just wall to wall fantastic moments.
When are you
and
coming to New York?
I would love to come. Actually, my wife might not let me back in the country if I go to New York without her.
Oh,
And at the moment,
you got a place to
I
stay.
don't see that
Do you like to clean
being
bathrooms?
feasible. Yeah, no, she would kill me because we have posters of New York up in our house. You know, we're real America. What do you call, like, America files? Like, I've got this as my mug. You know,
I like that.
I loved America and I would love to go back, but yeah, that was the one stipulation that my wife had. It's like, you're not going sightseeing.
If you go
You're
to
not
New York,
allowed
I'll bring you
because
to all the good dumpling places.
she would kill me. But I'm hoping to go back to Vegas next year because I think a lot of people are going over there, and I love to play poker, so it's just like a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Answer John's question. He says, banned for what? Banned for being CG. I take it that's what they banned you for.
Yeah,
right,
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't looked in. I just heard that through the grapevine. I think whoever controls whatever the indie comic book scene here in Australia is would not like my political views or what I say on YouTube or Twitter. I think so. I don't know. I'm not going to look into it anyway.
So do you have a bunch of haters? Do you have people, trolls and people?
No, I don't know. I mean, they haven't said anything to me. I haven't said anything to them. And, I treat everyone as I would want to be treated. On the first, it doesn't matter who you are or what kind of person you say you are. If you're, come up and say, hey, how you going? How are you? And if they come back with respect, then I'll treat them with respect. But people have, it's different now. Everything's so polarized and
people are crazy.
Everyone's so aggressive. It's all weird.
Yeah, that's good. I figured you probably hit that threshold where you were going to have crazy people that were going to try to dox you and be pests and bother you and show up at every stream.
No, not really, because I don't really go after people. I know
that doesn't matter.
Really...
You know what I mean? I was just talking to people a couple of days ago. They haven't gone after anybody, but freaks just show up and start. I can't wait. I wonder what my arch enemy is going to be. Somewhere there's an arch enemy in the basement right now in his underwear. Doesn't have anybody to argue with, and he's going to pick me, and I can't wait.
There's a question by RJ William in the chat. Is Webtoons good for indie artists? Webtoons is amazing. If you're just starting out and you have no name, I was able to build a following of 24,000 people.
Wow.
And I was posting regular updates of about 1 or 2 pages a week. And I was getting immediate feedback. And people were getting invested in the story. Now, it's probably making money on there. I don't know about that. People do, but they're really targeting an audience that is massive over there, which is sort of romance manga type things. If you're not making that, I don't know if you can make money out of there. But as an artist and a writer, it was amazing because I got to get instantaneous feedback. What were people noticing? What were they liking? Maybe there was something that I thought was really important that they didn't really care about. So it was really fantastic for that and getting yourself out there. It didn't translate anything outside of Webtoons, but other people have. I really do think it's a kind of untapped resource that a lot of people in the American scene aren't really focused on.
What would you say is your biggest surprise hurdle that you did through your crowdfunding that you didn't anticipate? It messed you up and then you recovered, or maybe didn't recover. I don't know.
All the hurdles are ongoing. That's the thing. You can't really explain it until you've done it. And RJ, you'll know this. There's an untold number of small to medium to large tasks that you cannot anticipate until you're in it.
Yeah.
And they have to all be attended to and all be done. And you could never drop the ball. You can never get angry about it. You just have to take it
Too
all
late-
on the
too late.
chin and
Too late, Michael. I
come
already
back
got
to it
over
every day.
Yeah, it's a small
It-
task that really you have to attend to. That's what I find too, Michael. Especially, I mean, putting up an Indiegogo site or any kind of site in order to sell the book. There are so many small little things that you just have to
Oh,
pay
it's
attention to
amazing.
because the entire thing is visually based. Besides that, I deal with so many others because I'm not doing the art. All I'm doing is the story myself. So I got, various artists. I got two
Mm.
different colorists. I got an editor. I got, it's like wrangling cats sometimes. So yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I do everything now except the letters and the editing. And I've always said it was really bizarre how it all worked out for me, where I was doing all these different things. I had an Etsy store where I was selling novelty signs. I was quite successful with it. I was doing t-shirt printing and t-shirt competitions, and I was playing poker professionally, and I was doing this and that. And along the way, I was picking up these skills on top of the fact that I've been a graphic designer for 20 years and I've done tons of pre-press and, obviously graphic design and book publishing and everything. So I was collecting the skills that I would need to bring it all together to be able to do this. So I'm in a bit of a unique situation where I can do pretty much everything that I need to do at, and you can, the actual writing and art is subjective, but in terms of everything else that you need, pre-press and design, website, all that kind of stuff, I think is at a full professional level. So that's really lucky on me. I don't have to go for anyone else for that. Obviously not everyone's going to have that, but that's a lot of different little tasks that you need to undertake all the time, and and make it all function. Luckily I know all this stuff, and it all works for me. But yeah, if you don't, then you've got to find people who do, and it's a very frustrating thing for a lot of people. A lot of my friends out there getting it to all work together.
Yep. Yeah, I'm starting to learn all the things that I don't know. Writing the story was fun. Hiring an artist, seeing pages come in, getting them colored, that's all fun. Now I didn't even know pre-press was a step. You know what I mean? That's how little I knew. So I'm talking to people about pre-press. All the, I don't know what I don't know yet.
That's just one step too. Yeah, that's the thing that most people who are coming into it fresh, they don't know what they don't know. And you see a lot of the time, oh, why can't you just do this? Why can't you do that? The mainstream does that. Why can't you do that? They're doing this. Why can't
I don't have a corporation
because
at my fingertips?
they don't know. They don't know because they don't know. And someone will come along and do something one way. And, well, why don't you do it like that? Well, they're in a completely different situation than I am. So people will find out. And all you can do as a creator is first, be honest with everyone. Never lie to your backers or potential backers, and keep them updated and be transparent about what's happening. And I think 99% of people out there will respond well to that.
Have you had any crazies bothering you? Like, well, not crazy, but like a disappointed customer?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going to disappoint everyone at some point. It's just a matter of how disappointed they are. If they're like, no, or they're writing you an angry email, it's going to happen to everyone from some different way. But even from the actual book itself, someone put up a review.
Do I tell them to F off or should I be like...
I don't. Some people do, and it seems to work out for them. Some people it's fine. I personally
I
don't.
thought that was the standard in the comic book industry. I
don't call them Nazis, and no.
Yeah. Well, I just would like you to go. I'm taking a stand against cannibals in the comic book industry. I'm starting anti-cam.
I took a stand the other day against war criminals.
Okay.
If you're a war criminal in comics, I don't want to work with you.
Right. If you're a cannibal in comic books, I don't want to work with you. Okay.
That's my hard line.
If you're not anti-can, then you're pro-cannibal.
Speaking of, John was talking about the fact that he wanted to introduce some faux advertisements into his book. Here's a faux advertisement I did for the Lucid long and ever ago. Let me see if I can bring this up.
Sumo Thori, he disavows cannibals. He's
how
on
do
the
I
right
do
side
this?
of history. Thank you.
Let's
Thank
see.
you, Sumo.
I can't remember how to do this.
Click
Darn it.
on
You
the
got to
little
change the arrangement. I can see it behind us.
Yeah, click
Yeah.
on the
There we
square
go. Let's do
on the
this. See.
shared screen. And
Like this.
There
There we
you
go.
There
We go.
That is excellent.
It's just a combination
Like
of
a
two of
movie
Michael's.
poster.
Yeah, exactly. I did it as a movie poster because I was just
awesome.
playing around with things.
You made that, RJ?
Yeah, I was just playing around with some fonts and things like that, thinking to myself, we should put these kinds of things in our books, just to advertise other people's books in,
That is cool.
in CG and things like that, just because it would be faux advertisement, as in this happened in this movie came out in 1972. Michael wrote the screenplay for it, kind of thing. That's what I was thinking when I created this. So
I like the puzzle too.
exactly. If you don't know, Michael actually sells puzzles with his books because I asked him one time and he said, "Is it because the story is like a puzzle?" And he said, "Exactly."
Well, it is. It really is. That's the writing device that I've gone with, which is slightly controversial. I've found out, even though a lot of the most popular television shows at the moment use this mystery box storytelling device, a lot of people are very angry at it because so many people have done it so poorly, which I understand. I love it. I love, and I think comics are a perfect medium for it. I love having it so that the reader gets to come up with their own theories as to what's really happening.
Yeah,
and
it's funny
it's
that
got
you
like
said
that
that.
interaction.
I just read Wolf and Batsy by Brian Bow, and Wolf said something, and I immediately asked Brian, and he said, "That's the way you want to interpret it. That's the way you want to interpret it." He was wonderfully elusive.
Yeah. And Michael in the chat says J.J. Abrams ruined mystery boxes for everyone. It's for some, but there's still some fantastic ones out there. Really, there's a lot of, especially television shows, seems to be very popular in television at the moment, are using it very successfully to great effect. And that's what I wanted to do. When I had my premise for my story, we were talking about the lucid dreams and everything. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, and I wasn't doing anything with it. And then I saw The Matrix, and I was like, oh my God, yes, that's so cool. Something like that. Not obviously that, but something like that. So I looked at The Matrix and I thought, well, what do I like about it? And what do I not like about it?
I
And
like the first movie and I hate everything else.
In particular, well, even in the first movie, the mystery is given away in the first 25 minutes or something. You kind of find out, okay, well, they're all plugged into a thing and their batteries or whatever. And I was wondering, well, is there a way that you could tell a similar-ish sort of story, but not have the mystery given away until the ending? And that's really kind of what I'm trying to do, at least. But you give away little clues at the end. And the cool thing about it is, even when I was releasing episodic 2 pages at a time back in the day on Webtoons, there were people in the chat who had figured out so much of what was going on just by what I'd given, which wasn't much, which is, I think, what you have to have when you're doing storytelling like invested. This. And that actually does make sense.
Right.
And
right. If you're up to issue 3 and nobody knows what the hell's going on, either it's poorly written or they're not invested. So yeah. So
as long as some people can figure it out, then I know, okay, it is there and I have given them enough. And I'm working close with my editor, Joe, to make sure that is the case, that I am giving enough, because I usually tend to want to not give too much away and maybe not enough away, but I do actually need to give people something to chew on.
I find that's the actual
go ahead.
Best key for not only writing, but especially writing science fiction fantasy, is that just give the audience enough so that their mind runs away with it and they continue to think on it. And that's the way you burrow into their brains with your story and they come back for more.
I play a role-playing game with the same group for now 20 years, and it's set in the same campaign. It's considered like a long Marvel Comics world or whatever. And there's plot devices that have been going on for 20 years that I haven't told them. So I think maybe I've been holding on to it too long. Maybe it's time, before we all forget what we're doing in our Alzheimer's or whatever.
All right. I just
Everyone
wanted to.
misses Joe.
Yeah, everyone misses Joe. I just wanted to also let everybody know that so the link for Michael's YouTube channel is in the chat. Everybody should go over and subscribe to Michael's channel as well as John's, of course. But Michael also does this thing called Art Share every once in a while. And if you're an artist, you need to post your art, and he usually does it off of Twitter, maybe some other different places. You just hashtag Art Share, and if you have some spectacular art, Michael will show it off in his Art Share if he has the time. So what I just wanted to, I haven't got to see the last couple of Art Shares, Michael. I just have been so busy, but who's the next great artist that's coming up within this indie comic space, do you think?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think probably the best and most improved artist in terms of technical skill that's actually putting out a lot of content would probably be Shelby Robertson, but he's still working on his previous books, so I think he needs to get them out and see how productive he can be in the future. But he shared a piece from 3 or 4 years ago, and the stuff that he's doing now on his sketch streams is insane in terms of improvement. It is really incredible. Hojo points out Jimmy Reyes. He has also improved dramatically. It's kind of like okay, they're getting really good. Are they being productive? That's the sort of the balancing act. And I know I'm always trying to not just show the same people over and over again. But I started the Art Share as a kind of just let's step away from all the culture war nonsense for a night and just like look at some cool art. Mostly it's sort of 90% comic book art, but occasionally I'll throw in some other stuff as well.
I'll give you some cool art here from Nick. This is one of the things I was going to put up on Art Share, but I'll put it up here first. This is one of the new panels from Crom the Destroyer. That is amazing. I can't believe that we work with artists like this. And you yourself are one, Mike.
I'm always like, what the hell is what the hell are these guys on? How are they so good? But I mean, they dedicate their, every waking hour of their day to improving on their art. So I'm not terribly surprised that they just get so good. But Nick's art is another one that have been really very pleasantly surprised by.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Renzo is another guy as well.
Yeah,
and
Renzo,
John, you're working with Renzo, and he's another guy that has just been consistently improving, but also being very productive. So
I saw Renzo. Renzo drew this is the Patriarch fighting Thomas Valiant right over here. Renzo, he leveled up. I mean, I saw his art on Tom Valiant, RJ's comic, and I just said, "Oh man, wouldn't it be great if I could get this guy to draw or somebody like him?" So I asked RJ, and he was like, "Yeah, go talk to Renzo." And man, I'm so excited. I love seeing his sketches. I just sent him a bunch of sketches of my sketches of characters for issue 2, and it's like lead into gold. He's awesome. I'm so excited. And thanks for showing off his work on last Saturday's show.
Oh yeah, I'm always open. I mean, I always just say, look, if you are an artist, just share it. If some weeks it's a little slim pickings on Twitter for whatever reason, people aren't sharing as much stuff. I can always head over to Instagram. I follow a lot of artists over there as well and find your stuff there. I know a lot of artists tend to share on Instagram, even though I think that site's a bit rubbish. But I'm always out on the lookout for new guys and gals who are doing amazing stuff, and I love it. It's great. It's such a great reset. It happens on my Sunday. To spend an hour and a half just appreciating.
That's right. Yeah, Australia's
people who are better than me.
Australia's in the future. Can you get
exactly?
Me
yes, that's true.
Can you get me lottery numbers?
No, it's against international law. We're not allowed.
I'll split it with you.
All right, we'll have to talk when we're not on.
Wait, in Minecraft.
Yeah.
Well, my wife bought tickets to see Die Hard. Everybody's been busting my chops because I have never seen Die Hard, so I have to leave.
The original.
Yeah, I've never seen Die Hard, so It's
You're
playing
in
in
for
the
a
theater
treat, my
right by
friend.
me. So I got to leave in a minute to be able to catch it's at 10 o'clock. I got a half hour to drive to the theater to go see Die Hard for the first time.
Well, I was just about to say,
That's
John, we're going to
blowing
wrap
my
some
mind.
Oh, okay,
some things up here because we're coming up to the end of our hour. But I wanted to let everybody know, first of all, once again, that links are in the description for Michael's channel, for thelucent.com, also for my 3 graphic novels and the name of John's upcoming book. And I just wanted to let everyone know, with these team up, comic book team up that John and I are doing, we're going to flip over to his channel and my channel every couple of weeks. So next week, I think we're going to do it on John's channel. I think we have Peter Samedi lined up.
I think that's gonna be it.
We'll see if we can get Peter or another guest for John's channel. And then I will probably be doing my own stream, my regular Make Comics Fun Again after that as well. So any last words, either of you? And I want to thank you very much for coming on, Michael, because you coming on this channel, that is just should have happened long and ever ago. I need to thank you profusely for all that you've done for me.
Well, look, I feel exactly the same way. I mean, I always feel like I'm in the presence of some crazy mad genius when I'm hanging out with you, RJ. That, you know, your videos have always been a kind of, it's sort of like the intellectual undergirding of all our entire arguments. So, you know, I'm always, it's very much reciprocated. So it's an honor to
and
be
that's
on
why
the
he
channel,
teamed up with me
finally.
to drag him down.
And well, and you know, you're John's Longbox. You're the man with the friggin' 10 million comics in your house. So, you know, it seems like a marriage made in heaven.
I look
So
up
I'm
and I
excited.
drag RJ down. Come on, down into the sewer with the rest of us.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and thank you, everybody, for showing up for the live stream. Thank you very much, Michael and John, both for being here. And I will just, we'll just say, I'll see you all later.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you. That was a lot of fun. Good to see you again, Michael. I always enjoy talking to you.
Too, John.